and politicians alike. We are joined today by New York Governor Mario Cuomo, who joins us from our studios in New York, and joining me here in Washington to address questions to the governor is Michel McQueen of the Wall Street Journal. Governor, thanks very much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Governor Cuomo, in the days immediately after the King verdict, New York City and other cities around the state were tense, but they did not explode, certainly not as Los Angeles or even Atlanta, Las Vegas, Seattle did. How do you explain that? Is it just possible that we've been somehow reading too much into all of this?
Oh, no. Because the reality of the deaths in Los Angeles, the reality of the problems in San Francisco and in Omaha, Nebraska, and in Birmingham, Alabama, and all around the nation, except, frankly, for New York, that reality is too great, too grave, too sad, too tragic to suggest that it's anything but a huge problem. In New York, we had the benefit of a number of things coming together. A great leader for this moment, Mayor David Dinkins in the city of New York, where we have 12 or 13 million people a day. Very good support from the African-American non-elected leaders, people like Reverend Al Sharpton, with whom I have disagreed a great deal in the past, the Reverend Herb Daughtry, with whom I've agreed a great deal in the past, both of them calling upon the people in their own community to speak out, but to do so non-violently. And another player, the media. I don't often go out of my way to compliment them, but the media was excellent in New York for the period right after the Rodney King affair. Also, we had the benefit of previous problems, Crown Heights recently, and we were prepared for it at the state and the city level. We have the Martin Luther King King Jr. Institute of Nonviolence. We have community groups. We have the Peace Corps. We have a regular pattern of dialogue. I'm very, very grateful that we got away with as little as we have.
Let me just follow up on one thing you said there in your response. You said the reality is the same. What do you mean by that reality? What are you referring to?
The King affair was a verdict that was perceived, whatever arcane legal principles, whatever microscopic reading of the transcript might justify it to lawyers and judges, and I'm a lawyer, to most Americans, and to most African Americans certainly, it was a jury saying that all white defendants were allowed to brutally beat and nearly kill a black victim with impunity. It shocked the president and everyone else. It shocked the president, who led us through a successful war in the East, and everybody else. That's a reality.
So, Governor,
and it was a reminder of a lot of situations. The other reality is that this explosion is only the most recent manifestation of a tremendous problem that we have in the nation that affects all of our most congested areas, the cities, and that is a reality, frankly, that we have blinked at for 10 or 12 years.
Governor, you mentioned the president. What was your response to his comments from the Oval Office? He gave a major address to the nation Friday night. What was your response to his comments?
Well, I'll be candid, Michelle. This is not a time to be picking at political differences or even philosophical differences, and so my response was that the president is absolutely correct when he says we cannot tolerate violence in response to this tragedy which shocked the president. He's right. I know that as a governor. I know it as a citizen. We will not tolerate it in our state, and we made that very clear. The tragedy of killing people because of the anger produced by the Rodney King situation was grotesque, wrong, ought not to have happened, and that kind of thing has to be stopped. He's right about that. He is also right, and this a little bit ironically, to say at the end of his remarks, and when we have restored order, then we should turn to studying the root causes. My God, we should have been doing that for 12 years. The Kerner Commission told us that. And to say now that when we restore order, we should be that is one of the problems. that since the Kerner Commission, you've forgotten about the root causes.
Before we go on to the root causes, Governor, could I just follow up briefly and just ask what was your view of his decision to call in federal troops? It's still an extraordinary step. I think possibly 10 times in the last 30 years has this occurred in response to domestic disorder, 11 if you include the Virgin Islands. Do you think that was appropriate? Some people in the past have considered that a move that escalates rather than diminishes violence.
If the president had done it on his own, if he had done it, as the lawyers would say, sua sponte, if it was his idea, then you'd probably say, Mr. President, isn't this a little dramatic? But the governor asked him to do it, and Mayor Bradley asked him to do it. The mayor is a Democrat. The governor is a Republican. I don't believe, therefore, it was political. If the two officials in command asked the president to make the federal troops ready, then he obviously, I think, did the right thing in responding.
Governor, to the root causes now. What would you expect from the White House? What kind of very high-profile national presidential leadership is called for now to address those root causes?
Well, first you have to get back to the Rodney King situation. See, one of the regrettable results of the tragic aftermath was that it took the eye off of the Rodney King situation and turned it on to the lawlessness of people all over the country, which is the worst case for us and least promises progress for us. We have to get back to the Rodney King case. It's not over. You have one defendant whom the state can still prosecute, who I believe was the one who struck the most blows.
All right, so what should happen?
A very hard question. I believe that should be tried again. They're trying to decide whether it would be better or worse to try it again, because perhaps you lose again as a prosecutor. I think you have no choice. If I were the governor, and I'm not going to presume to know all that Pete Wilson knows, and it's not my place, but from here, it looks as though that ought to be tried again, and the president is doing exactly the right thing, having the Attorney General say the Department of Justice is going to pursue this, having a grand jury. I hope they produce convictions. That's the first thing. Long range. 85% of the American people live in metropolitan districts. City is the word that we get the word civilization from. This country cannot live without its cities. It cannot prosper without its cities. It is the place that has to be strengthened if you are to compete with the Japanese, if you are to compete with the European community. You must finally, after 12 years, show the same kind of commitment to rebuilding the cities that you promised to show for the rest of the world. We're about to rebuild the Russia and the other republics of the former Soviet Socialist Union, et cetera, et cetera. So we have to now bring a real plan forward to stop the homelessness, to reduce the poverty, to replace the despair with hope in the inner cities all over the United States of America. Not because we're compassionate, not because we have a moral obligation to those people, but because without the cities, the country can't make it. I repeat, 85% of the American people live in metropolitan areas, cities and the suburbs immediately around them.
Okay, Governor Cuomo, we have to take a break, but when we come back, the question of how many billions and how to proceed, just ahead.
Good.
Newsmaker Sunday is brought to you by GE. From satellites to medical systems, we bring good things to life.
Imagine your refrigerator with bigger door shelves for bigger bottles, with leftovers left in quick-serve trays for leftover space, more space, nearly 27 cubic feet, and a door in the door for things you use more. Imagine GE's Space Center 27.
The stranger and his trusty grill stood ready for the fight. Other sauces against Bullseye to see which tasted right. And as the smoke rose off his grill, Hunt's was laid to waste. Then Masterpiece and Heinz dropped out against Bullseye Big Bold Taste. Yes, the stranger had won the day with a sauce that beat the rest. The big bold taste of Bullseye tastes the best. And now there's Bullseye's Bold and Chunky with big chunks of onion and green peppers.
Now there are cars and trucks that run on clean-burning natural gas.
Yeah, but how clean can it be?
Natural gas reduces the emissions that cause smog by 80%.
Yeah, but what does it cost?
It's like saving 40 cents a gallon on gasoline.
Yeah, but where does it come from?
Natural gas comes from right here in North America.
Yeah, but who makes the vehicles?
America's automakers are turning out fleets of natural gas cars and trucks.
Yeah, but do they come with tinted windows?
Monday, a crisis of survival, the global population out of control, and time is running out. A special edition of Cryer and Company looks at the burning fuse on the people bomb. Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
And welcome back to Newsmaker Sunday. Our guest, New York Governor Mario Cuomo, who joins us from our studios in New York, and Michel McQueen, who joins us for the questioning from the Wall Street Journal. Michel?
Governor, you've been very critical of President Bush and his stance to the cities, and you've also had some criticisms of other national leaders, including Democrats. What do you want to hear from them today or tomorrow or the next day? What specifics do you want to hear about what to do to address these problems?
All right, let me be honest. This is not evasion. We don't have the time for it all. Let me spin out a whole lot of quick specifics. First of all, what the Republicans and the Democrats have done, I am a Democrat, I will fight for Bill Clinton to be the president. In Congress, the president, together with the Democratic Congress, has said with all the problems of our economy, with all the unemployment, without all the poverty, their answers were as follows. The president says, capital gains tax cut, and the rich people applauded. Our Democrat-led Congress says, no, 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 middle-class tax cut, $300 apiece, and nobody applauded. Neither of them has really, honestly addressed the problem. And we all know it, and we all admit it in our living rooms, even the politicians.
Give me some ideas, Governor. What are your ideas?
Number one, you have to deal with the whole economy. You have to put us all back to work, the whole country, cities and otherwise. And therefore, you have to invest in things that will produce capital. Government producing the capital directly, 100 economists said you should spend $50 billion on infrastructure in the inner cities and in the areas where manufacturing used to be done. $50 billion, despite what it does to the deficit. Some of them Nobel Peace Prize winners. So far, no response from the president, no response from the Congress. That was 2 weeks ago. Government should give the Federal Reserve Board $25 billion and say there's no point in reducing rates if nobody gets loans anyway. Here's money that you can move to inner cities and elsewhere. Invest in capital. Invest in human resources. You have to get them off drugs. Where are you in the drug war? Christian Science Monitor announces that after you made yourself the education president and then the drug president, you cut the money for the drug war. No money for addiction. You need to invest in a workforce. These children who are rioting, Bill Bradley says their life has no meaning. Charlie Rangel says they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to look forward to. If they don't get lucky at basketball, they have no job. You have to invest in them. That means education. That means Head Start. That means nutrition programs.
Where does all this money
help us with the school?
Where does all this money come from?
Where did it come from for the war, Frank? Where did it come from
our
for the
allies.
savings and loans?
It came from overseas.
No, it hasn't.
Came from
That's
the
not
deficit.
true. That is not true. Where did it come from when you had an earthquake? When you had the disasters that we couldn't predict? The disasters of nature. Well, these are human disasters. 100 economists, Frank, just told you that question was not a burden. 100 economists said, let's have a 4-year plan to bring down the deficit. I produced one that I gave to the Fortune 500. You can find the wealth. Where? In the defense budget, in entitlements, not for needy people, but in entitlements, in curbing the meeting of wants while you still have needs that go unmet, and by taxing the people
Governor,
at the very top.
Three
sources of wealth.
Governor, pardon me, but some people think, particularly economists, that the deficit is a disaster, and at $400 billion right now. Do you realistically think that the political leadership and the public would have a consensus behind making these kinds of investments in expensive programs?
I do not believe that you have to run the deficit up to make these investments. And that's what the 100 economists said. They said short term you don't worry about it, but over a 3 or 4 year period you can do it. You have the wealth. Bill Bradley made a list of $30 billion you could find in the budget right now. You have not taxed the wealthiest people in the nation, and incidentally, they would not object if you taxed them and spent the money well, if you invested it. You have not taken down the defense budget the way you should. You have not even mentioned the subject of entitlements. Every governor does. I cut my budget and went way down in the polls. Why? Because I did Medicaid, I did education. You know what you call those? Entitlements.
Governor Cuomo, I'm wondering, and I don't mean this to be in any way misconstrued, but whether these disturbances that we've seen over these last several days and the discussion we're having here right now, all of them, whether they contribute to a positive change toward real constructive dialogue and tough choices, including in the campaign, or whether they lead to the same sort of backlash that we saw in the late 60s, a white flight, a talk about law and order. I'm interested in your thoughts on that.
Right now, my fear, what happens is that the tragedy of the aftermath, as I said earlier, is going to replace the root cause part of this, and a lot of people are going to get angry at all those people who caused the trouble. They will see them as minorities, mostly African American. There will be a tremendous backlash that says, you can't help those people, they're the problem. If you put too much of an emphasis on that violence and law and order, if the president is not serious about root cause, if he doesn't say to the people whose instinct is, the heck with them, they're just troublemakers, ignore them, you can't help them anyway, the president has to say to those people, look, you're wrong in your instinct. Without that population, we all go down. It will only get worse. We need them for the workforce. We should be helping people to help themselves. We should be changing the welfare law, yes. We should be insisting on responsibility. But kids should grow up in the city of New York and in Los Angeles the way I did.
Governor,
poor, but believing that if you worked hard, there would be a job there. They don't have jobs. They don't have opportunities. That is the responsibility of the government.
Governor, speaking of anger, one of the interesting stories of this election has been that it apparently isn't just the poor who are angry, but everybody who's angry. In fact, CNN did a poll last month that indicated only a third of the voters surveyed thought that the candidates had good ideas. Only a third of the voters surveyed said that they thought that the American election campaign made them proud to be Americans. Most people didn't feel good about this country right now. Does anybody have the confidence of the majority of the country? Does anybody in political leadership today really convey a sense that they understand what the country needs and are willing to move it forward? Or are we falling into some kind of political free fall where nobody really listens to anybody?
Michelle, you asked two questions. Does anybody have the confidence of the people? And the answer is no. That's why they're looking for Perot. If you're asking, is this deserved? Should the politicians be seen as negatively as they are? And my answer is yes. Why? Just a nutshell. You hear everybody, even conservative Democrats now saying people should have a sense of responsibility, especially welfare people. They should work if they can. But politicians should have a sense of responsibility too. Where is the responsible answer to our problems from the Democrats? Where is the responsible answer from President Bush? Capital gains tax cut? Middle class tax cut? Are you kidding somebody? You know that's not enough. You know that's just popular. I talked to Bill Clinton this week, and I think he agrees, and I would expect to see him saying some things that aren't so popular that are responsible.
Governor Mario Cuomo, we thank you very much for your time and your views today, and we look forward to having another conversation with you, we hope, very soon. We'll be back with your turn on Newsmaker Sunday in just a moment.
Every 7 seconds of every day, someone is going somewhere with GE because over 200 of the world's airlines rely on the power of GE jet engines.
Tokyo and Kokomo and Marrakesh and Budapest and Sydney, Monte Carlo, San Diego, Santiago, Barcelona, Arizona, Bora Bora, Glacamora, and Siena, and Vienna, and New York and County Cork. GE in the air, we'll be there. GE.
And since every year more and more people are going to more and more places, GE has developed the jet engine of the future, the GE90. More powerful, more fuel efficient, cleaner, and quieter than any jet engine ever made.
Johannesburg and Uruguay and Malibu and Paraguay and Rome and Santa Fe and Cincinnati and LA. And there is Canada and Malaga and Rimini and Brindisi, New Delhi, Kansas City, and a town without a penny.
GE, coming every 7 seconds to an airport near you.
There's a place on Florida's southwest coast that's so natural. I call it Florida's Florida. Come on down and see for yourself, because it's going to be another great day on Lee Island Coast. There's exotic wildlife, terrific golf and tennis, exciting water sports, unbeatable fishing, and fascinating historical attractions. Call this number to find out more about Florida's Florida. Hey, you'll see why I say the fun comes naturally on Lee Island Coast.
Stronger than most, this umbrella. 50% of the Fortune 500 carry it for their insurance and investment needs. Open in case you want strength and experience the traveler's way. You're better off under the umbrella.
Now at Century Hardware, the American-made Super Buy for May is the Sunbeam Twin Pack 8.5-inch thermometer and 8-inch wall clock combo. Now both Super Buy priced for just $9.99 at Century Hardware.
And now it's your turn on Newsmaker Sunday, where we pose your questions to our guests. Our mail conveyed skepticism and anger after a show a few weeks ago with House Speaker Thomas Foley. Sharon Wagner of Fargo, North Dakota wrote, Speaker Foley stated that the House Bank was started as a payroll office before Abraham Lincoln was a member. Does Speaker Foley mean to condone this practice because Abraham Lincoln participated in it, or does the long-term existence of wrongdoing justify its continuation?
What I was trying to establish is that it's a very old institution, and for about 50 years it's been the practice to allow members to draw checks against their accruing salaries. But I didn't condone the practice. I thought it should end. I recommended that the bank be closed, and it was closed in December of last year with all accounts paid, without any taxpayers' money having been used in this overdrafting or lost.
And on that point, Lucy Faust of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, didn't mince words in her letter. Please, Mr. Foley, she wrote, don't insult our intelligence by saying the check bouncing did not cost the taxpayers any money. Who pays Congress's salaries for the building, the clerical help, the office supplies, utilities, etc.?
What I was trying to establish is that it's a very old institution, and for about 50 years it's been the practice to allow members to draw checks against their accruing salaries. But I didn't condone the practice. I thought it should end. I recommended that the bank be closed, and it was closed in December of last year.
If you have a question for today's guest, New York Governor Mario Cuomo, or a comment on the subject of the Rodney King trial and race relations in America, we hope you'll write to us at your turn. CNN Newsmaker Sunday, 821st Street Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20002. That address again, 821st Street Northeast, Washington, D.C., 20002. That's it for Newsmaker Sunday. For all of us at the program, thanks for joining us, and special thanks to Michel McQueen of the Wall Street Journal. I'm Frank Sesno in Washington. Have a good day.
For a transcript of Newsmaker Sunday with Frank Sesno, send $4 to Newsmaker Sunday Transcripts, Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203. Or call 1-303-831-9000.
This is the biggest oven I've ever seen.
Introducing a GE gas oven with sealed burners and 30% more oven space, all in the same kitchen space. The new XL44 from GE.
You made too much food.
Ariel, you're a pain in the... It's the big oven everyone's talking about.
Can't believe he broke it at the company picnic.
Incredible. Our employee health plan covers him, right?
Not deductibles or co-payments.
So he has to lay out his own money.
Gaps in your health plan can be costly. Aflac can help. Aflac is a leader in supplemental insurance with 35 years of dependable service. Today, employees of over 80,000 companies count on Aflac for the peace of mind to get on with life.
Any ideas?
Yeah, Aflac.
Aflac, insuring over 35 million people worldwide.
Nearly 5.5 billion people live on this planet, 1/5 in absolute poverty. How long can the Earth's resources sustain a birth rate spiraling out of control? The People Bomb, tonight, 9 Eastern on CNN.
And this is CNN Weekend. I'm Ralph Wingate. Walton Jones joins us now with a look at the weekend weather.
Well, it's going to be better, I think, Ralph, for a lot of folks. We've had some hot weather along the eastern half of the nation, and a cold front that has moved through will be dropping the temperatures somewhere between 6 and 8 degrees from what they were yesterday as far as the high. So here's what's going on. Taking a look at our satellite picture, we see the cloud pattern in the mid-United States. There's a cold front that is moving through the Ohio Valley, and then from the satellite picture, you can see it moving into the Mississippi Valley through the southeastern states, and that cold front is going to be carrying with it a few showers and some isolated thunderstorms. We had thunderstorms yesterday from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic coast, and with that, some very strong winds. Now, the forecast chart for later today looks like this. Sunday's weather is going to be, well, cloudy in the east, and that cold front stretching to the Gulf Coast region back to the desert southwest with some isolated showers this afternoon. A lot of fair skies, though, all the way from the Pacific Northwest into the central and then into the upper Ohio Valley. The forecast high temperatures for today look like this. Cooler, definitely, in the area of the Great Lakes to the northeast, and to the south it's going to be somewhat milder, as you can see the temperatures reflecting that cold front passing through the eastern half of the nation. So somewhat of a change in our overall weather pattern. Okay, that's what it looks.
All right, Walton, thank you. Coming up, the games of 92 after this break. The CNN Weekend continues.
If you'd like to give a special gift to a boy or girl 8 years old and up, get your pencil ready and write down this number, because I've got just the answer for you. It's National Geographic World Magazine, published especially for kids by the National Geographic Society. World brings real-life adventure, page after page of fascinating articles and pictures in National Geographic color. Young readers will have fun exploring Earth, sea, and sky, the environment, and ways to protect it, and enjoy articles on sports, hobbies, science, and adventure. World entertains while it fulfills curiosity, stimulates the imagination, and encourages your youngster to read more. It's amazingly inexpensive for 12 colorful issues of World magazine. Compare this unique once-a-month, 12 times a year gift to a single gift from a toy store, and you can see what a bargain this is. No shopping, no wrapping, no shipping. You cannot buy World magazine at the newsstand or bookstore. You can get it only through the mail, and it's so easy to order. Just call with that special child's name and address today. Call 1-800-257-1257. Each issue has exciting surprises, challenging games and puzzles, inspiring stories about other kids, plus extra-large pull-out pages. All this for only $12.95 for 12 issues. Plus, we'll include junior membership in the National Geographic Society. Your child will receive this welcome kit that includes a membership certificate, an ID card, a colorful iron-on emblem, plus the chance to compete for a $5,000 scholarship. And when you call with your gift order, we'll also mail a special personalized gift card from you. Call 1-800-257-1257. That's 1-800-257-1257. 12 colorful issues, junior membership, and the welcome kit, plus a card from you. This gift lasts a year. The benefits last a lifetime.
This is CNN.
On the Games of 92, we'll take a dip with one of the world's fastest swimmers. Check out a new American citizen whose hopes of bringing a medal back to his new home is no big fish story. We've got Dan and Dave and what they're doing, and a world-class diver plunges into a new phase of her life.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Lorenz. Thanks for joining us on this edition of the Games of 92. We'll be joined shortly by Olympic swimming silver medalist Tom Jager, who is just one member of a U.S. team which will be seeking a new harvest of medals in Barcelona this summer.
Matt Biondi is back, looking to add to the 7 medals he won in Seoul, including 5 gold. He'll compete in the 50 and 100-meter freestyle and both relays. Janet Evans was the darling of 1988 when she captured 3 golds at the age of 16. She's 20 now, but still has the fire for the 400 and 800 meters. Tom Jaeger glides through the water faster than any other human. The 27-year-old is looking to break his own world record in the 50-meter free. There is youth to go with experience. Anita Nall, just 15 years old and already the owner of a world record in the 200-meter breaststroke. And Summer Sanders, the perfect name for these games. She'll go for a perfect 4-for-4 performance in the quartet of events for which she's qualified.
Well, Tom Jaeger is just one of the returning veterans to the United States squad. He is the world record holder in the 50-meter freestyle. You may also recognize him from his most wanted posters around the world under the alias, the fastest human in the water. Tom joins us from our studios in Los Angeles. And Tom, that is quite a title to live up to.
Oh, it's great. It's a fun thing. It's a great sport, and I'm glad to be the fastest in the world in it.
Is it tough keeping that billing, keeping up in the top shape, staying up with supposedly the younger kids in the business?
Well, age is to my benefit, I think. The experience is great. I've been doing this for 10 years. Some of the younger kids it's a new thing for them, so maybe I have a little bit on the experience to help myself.
Do you feel in essence, Tom, that you are the hunted, being the owner of the 50-meter world record?
Well, after the trials, I was beat by Matt Biondi in the trials, and maybe he's the favorite going into the Olympics. I hope to knock him off at the Olympics, though, and get my revenge factor from '88.
Interesting. Would you rather that he be the favorite or that you be the favorite going into the games?
It's a tough call. We're out there. Both of us, either one of us, know that we can win the race. The races are so close that the favorite is Matt and Tom, and who's going to win between those two? I think not necessarily Matt's a favorite or Tom's a favorite.
Tom, is that one of the things, though, that has kept you in the sport and has kept the competitive fire burning, the fact that you and Matt have been on even par and bouncing off each other for so long, so well?
Well, it's been a great experience in my lifetime to have somebody that you can compete against and really race hard and have a great time competing against, but also get along with and understand him as an individual. The competitions are fierce, but the friendship is there that we really have a great relationship.
You also have a good relationship out of the pool and off the deck, and we'll get to that a little bit later in the show. But let's get back to you for a minute and talk about